Hey, this is Paul Jackwitz of bloggingBigBlue.com. Of course, I have not been on YouTube in a long time. Just been busy with the website and whatnot, but I definitely want to get back to posting more videos. One of the latest articles on Blogging Big Blue, if you go on the website, is about really what it seems like are the five players that the Giants could end up using, or sorry, not using, could end up selecting with the 11th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, which of course is only 2 days away. We're Tuesday. Yeah, 2 days away. We're pretty much a little under 2 days away from it officially kicking off. Um, so Jordan Renan of ESPN just released his podcast Breaking Big Blue for this week, and he mentioned pretty much the five players that he thinks the Giants will target at 11. First and foremost, he does not believe it seems like that they're going to take an edge rusher. His thought is that they're not really in love with any edge rushers right now, which to me makes sense. I think right now the edge rusher class is really, really good. It's not great. This is a very offensive heavy draft class, right? Especially in the top 10. There's a chance that no defender gets taken in the top 10, especially with the likelihood of four quarterbacks going in the top 10 as well. And who knows, maybe even five, maybe a team trades up. I mean, it's very realistic that, of course, you have Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. We definitely know that those two are going. And I think the 49ers are going to take a quarterback. They'll take either Mac Jones or Trey Lance. And then who knows, a team might get desperate and trade up into the top 10 and then they get Justin Fields taken, and then ultimately you have five quarterbacks taken in the first round. So that could very well happen. The Falcons could take a quarterback. I don't think they will. That's just my opinion. I think they'll end up going with Kyle Pitts because I just don't. I don't. Maybe they'll take one later on a quarterback. For the heir apparent to Matt Ryan, but I don't think they're going to take one. Ultimately, I think the Giants are going to have their choice of some top players at 11. And Renan really believes that right now the five players that they are looking at for that 11th pick are the Alabama receivers, Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle. And then really the two arguably top corners in the draft, Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn. And then the fifth person would be Rashawn Slater, the Northwestern offensive lineman. He also mentioned that they would probably take Penei Sewell if he were to drop. Of course they would, but likelihood of him dropping is probably not very good. It's not going to happen probably. So, and he believes that it'd be Waddle or Smith for them. Ultimately, those are the top two guys, and then after that, maybe the corners and offensive linemen. I I I kind of I think that's a great. I think if you're the Giants, if you're prioritizing those top two receivers at 11, that's perfect. I think that's what they need to do. I think value-wise, that's where they need to be looking. They need to be looking at those two receivers, and if they can't get them, I would even take Slater over Surtain or Horn. But if the Giants value Surtain and Horn more than Slater, kind of got to go that way, right? I don't know. I think you can go either or there, but I think ultimately you have to take a receiver, you have to take Smith or Waddle at 11. I just think the value is too great of a value. I know people think, oh, you don't need a receiver. You already have so many. You just got Galladay and John Ross. You even added Kyle Rudolph. Remember, the NFL is an injury league. Like there's just constant injuries. No other league do they report injuries the way they do in the NFL. Like it's a whole other section of a website, of talking points, right? It's the NFL is all about injuries. There's just so many injuries. Guys are always getting hurt, right? It's one of the concerns about Kenny Galladay. John Ross, same thing. Concerns about him, injury. And you don't know. I mean, look at Victor Cruz. Look at Hakeem Nicks. They're in my opinion, two of the best receivers in Giants history. Just great players, right? But their careers are cut short by injury. Especially Cruz had that patellar. He tore his patella tendon in his knee. That pretty much ended his career. He was never the same, right? Hakeem Nicks, foot, ankle, injuries, lower leg injuries on him. He was never the same player. And so we see that happen, unfortunately, especially it seems like with the Giants, that, they draft these guys high, or, in Nick's case. And Nick's lasted, I guess, about 4 or 5 years. I can't remember off the top of my head. But then they don't last. So you can't, they just signed Galladay to a long-term deal, but you cannot guarantee that Galladay is going to be around for the next 10 years, right? So you have to just keep getting guys. Plus, Darius Slayton, he's a good player, but is he really good enough to be a number 2 long down the line? Maybe, maybe not. We'll find out this year when teams are paying attention to Golladay, because teams are going to mostly look at Golladay. How is Slayton going to step up and get the job done? So that's something else to look at. But I think right now with the Giants, with the way things are shaping up, I think Renan has hit it on the head. I don't think they're going to take an edge rusher that high. I think ultimately you take that edge rusher in the second round. You get somebody maybe like Ronnie Perkins of Oklahoma. Who knows? Azeez Ojulari of Georgia, he could fall out of the first round. I think that's a possibility. I think any of these guys can fall out of the first round. You just never know. The draft is so unpredictable. That's what makes mock drafts interesting, because really nobody knows what's going to happen. People, even insiders, hear stuff, but you really don't know what's going to happen. And again, that's why it's interesting. Ideally, in my opinion, the Giants take that whoever is your top player in the first round, whether it's a receiver, corner, offensive lineman. I think second round, you go get your edge rusher. Ideally, yeah, you would like an edge rusher higher up, right? But I don't think you can't overdraft for an edge rusher. You just can't. And you're not going to trade up to get one, right? That's just, you're not going to trade up to get somebody. That's just silly. You're not going to trade up to get Kyle Pitts. That doesn't make sense. The only reason to trade up in this draft is to get a quarterback, which the Giants are not going to do right now. It'd be nice if they could trade down to 15 or so in that area. New England, maybe New England moves up and gets a receiver. And then they can go get an edge rusher at 15, like Kwity Paye or somebody. But who knows if that's actually going to happen? Of course, we'll have to wait and see. But it looks like the Giants, we can expect them to draft one of these 5 players. Micah Parsons, that's not going to happen. I think it's interesting to see people mocking him to the Giants. I just think the red flags are just doesn't make sense. I get a feeling that Gettleman wouldn't mind taking a chance on him. But I don't even think Gettleman can afford to. Supposedly there's a report Gettleman loves him, but can Gettleman really afford to take a chance on this guy when his job's on the line? Not really. And then you got Joe Judge. I don't think Joe Judge wants anything to do with guys with red flags. Excuse me. I don't think he does. Because look, they could have brought back DeAndre Baker last year. He didn't want anything to do with that. I just don't think he wants anything to do with these guys that are questionable. I think he's just trying to build the right culture. He doesn't. Supposedly there's reports out there that Parsons is a diva. Who knows if it's true? Hopefully it's not. Hopefully he ends up having a great career. But I don't think the Giants are going to want to take that chance, especially with a first-round pick. This team, they're getting better, but they cannot afford to take risks with their first-round pick this year. They have to hit a home run and get a guy that can come in right away and help them win games and hopefully help them get back to the playoffs.